You're listening to the BJJ Globetrotters Pirate Radio podcast, brought to you from St. Bart in the French West Indies. We talk jiu-jitsu, traveling, and people who do things a bit different in life. I am your host, Christian Graugaard. Welcome to the BJJ Globetrotters Pirate Radio podcast, episode 12. Here's another episode and another me apologizing for how long it took since the last episode. But I'll skip all that and just get to it. Since the last episode, I have been traveling quite a bit. I'm just loading up my list here. I've been pretty much nonstop on the road since the last episode in March, and we are now at the end of August. This summer has been a bit of a challenge to myself, as in, let's find out how many camps we can do in the shortest amount of time, and how crazy a schedule we can actually pull off. We pulled it off. I would say it was very close, maybe just a few steps over the limit of what was possible for me physically and mentally. But I mean, can't really complain about being super busy, having an amazing time. So yeah, I started out early May, went to Estonia, directly to Italy, then to the US camp, then to Portugal, then to Austria, then to Iceland, and then the big Camp 50 in Germany. It was 7 camps in 3 months. I definitely have never done anything that intense before. But every single one of the camps went amazing, and I enjoyed every minute of it. So I'm also kind of glad to be home now and have a month and a half, or I've been home for a few weeks. No, actually, I don't know. Okay, I've been home for like 10 days. But I have now 2 months of nothing, quote unquote nothing, to do before the next camp, which is, it's kind of nice to have a break now, to be honest. Next one is up in mid-October, where we go to Poland for the Zen camp, and then directly on to Arizona. We thought it would be interesting to try and go directly from a Japanese village in Poland to the desert in the Midwest of the US. So excited for that. Now, at the camps, I've pretty much for the last year or 2 years maybe, or as long as I've done this podcast, I've been bringing my little travel microphone and thought, hey, this camp I'm going to interview someone and do some episodes. But I always end up running around like an absolute maniac and never have time for it. But this camp in Germany was probably the busiest camp I've ever done of all camps. I don't think we've pulled off more things in 1 week ever than we did there. It was pure madness. I'm not going to go through and describe all of it, but I'll leave that to the documentary that comes out next year, because we filmed everything. But I managed to do 3 interviews in Germany and Iceland. It was a good opportunity for me as well to get to talk to these people, hear a little bit more about their backstory and their thoughts about things. Because I run so fast at the camps that I find it hard to find time to really sit down and talk to people, which I think is the most interesting part of the camps anyway. So I managed to do 3 interviews, and they're going to make up the following 3 episodes of the podcast. The first one is kind of interesting. This was with one of the instructors, Charles Harriott, who he showed up for his first camp 1 year ago, and I had no idea what to talk with him about, but he's been traveling extensively. He's been pretty much like nonstop traveling for I don't know how long. He was also the Globetrotter of the Year last year, and sponsored traveler. So I thought he would have a few good stories, but we actually ended up talking about how it is to start being an instructor at the camps, and his experience with that. And that was really, really funny for me to hear that, because I rarely get to talk to people about that, and I think it was an interesting interview that came out of it. And just as a little disclaimer, this was recorded with my little travel microphone, so the quality is maybe not as good as usual. It's kind of long, so I'll just run it, and then I hope you enjoy it, and I'll be back right after it's finished.
The lava rocks. Oh, hello, rock and spine.
Oh, the Icelandic summer. This is not a bad place to do the interview, huh?
It's not at all. And I'm happy because we can actually see the sky now. It was like just awkward shades of gray for the first few days. But now it's beautiful.
All right, Charles. Welcome to the podcast.
Happy to be here.
Do you want to describe the scene for the listeners?
Sure. So we're laying on some rocks outside of Mjolnir. And there's what looks to me like a very tall...
In Iceland,
in Iceland, in Reykjavik, Iceland. And there's it's like a tower or a big church that we can see. Beautiful...
It's a Viking church.
It's a Viking church. Beautiful clouds and then mountains in the background all around. And then if you look up, the sun is like diagonal left. And it's nowhere close to setting, even though it's 6 p.m. And it's probably not going to all the way set until like 1 in the morning today. And it's like Florida spring weather. It's not even really cold at all. Just a nice breeze and gorgeous out.
You forgot to mention the construction site and the parking lot.
I'm sugarcoating it, man. You got to make it as beautiful as possible. We don't talk about such things. We don't talk about the construction or the McDonald's. Actually, they don't have McDonald's. No, it's not McDonald's. They have Aktu Taktu instead. Because McDonald's left because they decided it wasn't financially viable for them, I think is what someone told me. I might be wrong. But like they didn't kick out McDonald's. McDonald's was just like, peace, we're out.
McDonald's kicked itself out.
Yeah.
All right, so, okay. Remind me how we got in touch the first time. I don't even remember. You sent me an email, or I sent you an email or something.
I don't know who sent the first email. So at the very beginning, I was traveling. So I decided February of last year to start a world trip. And I actually had heard of you because your book came out and I saw the idea and I was like, damn it, like I wish I had done that first. And then my girlfriend got me your book for Christmas
and then you
or my
left.
birthday. No, because
actually
no. The horrible thing about it was I actually didn't read it. I had it on my desk forever, and I read the back, and I was like, I'm gonna read this someday. And I just, instead of reading it, I just planned the trip instead. I'm like, instead of reading
probably even better
about how somebody else did this, I just want to do this. And so I went on my trip. And I met Dan. Dan was the beginning of all this.
Yes, of course.
So I posted about my trip on the members of BJJ Globetrotters page. Because I already had been a member of the website for years.
For the listeners, Dan was the...
Dan Reed.
He was in the very first podcast, if anyone want to catch up on it.
Yeah,
Episode 1.
Danimal, he's doing really well. He's expanding. I think he's got like 3 or 4 gyms now. Mm-hmm. He had 2 when I met him. And I think he's up to 3 or 4. He's making a little jiu-jitsu empire over there in Taiwan. But I made a post about my desire to travel for a year and do jiu-jitsu a little earlier on members of BJJ Globetrotters, the Facebook group. Before that, I had been a member of the website, and I had posted my Gainesville spot as like, someone come to Gainesville, Florida, but no one had ever messaged me with any desire to come. Because it's actually a very nice place, but it's 2 hours from the closest airport in every direction. And there's so much amazing things to do in Florida that I guess are more interesting than Gainesville that just no one ever came. And
That's so sad. Forever alone.
Exactly. And so I then posted in members and I got a bunch of feedback, like really positive feedback. And then I forgot about it for like 3 months and I got close to the trip. And so instead of like actually taking all of the great feedback I got and like making a proper plan and schedule like you did, like you were incredibly organized, I just remembered these contacts and then started the trip by the seat of my pants. And while I started it out in the U.S., while I was in the U.S., I somehow got a hold of Dan, and Dan was like, hey, if you're going to be in Asia, screw it. You can do a seminar at my gym. Here's the deal with it, blah, 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 blah. And the first time I met Dan, it was him, the other owner of the gym, Graham, and Ryan. 3 guys. It was a blue belt, pro belt, and Dan's a black belt. And I didn't realize this, but I guess they were testing me to make sure I didn't suck at jiu-jitsu. Because right after we landed, he took me out for lunch, and he's like, we're going to the gym. And it was just us 4, and we, essentially, just all rolled, not death rolls, but as close to death rolls as I could possibly think. Because Dan is an incredibly competitive man. And we rolled really freaking hard, and I guess I did well enough to convince him that he shouldn't cancel the seminar that he had planned. And I ended up hanging out with him for the better part of a week, made friends with a bunch of the guys, ended up winning a breakdancing competition there, and he liked me. And so I assumed that he told you this, because then shortly after that, you decided to give me a small sponsorship and extended at least from my side of it, how I perceived it was an opportunity to kind of like interview to become a Globetrotters instructor. Because previously I'd been told that I had to go to a Globetrotters camp first to be a Globetrotters instructor. And I think you were just in your typical fashion, like, screw it, come to Heidelberg. I think that's exactly how you said it, like, screw it, come to Heidelberg.
That's probably what I said.
And so between there and Heidelberg, I traveled to a bunch of other spots. But when I went to Heidelberg, I took it really seriously, like it was an interview. So I was absolutely terrified. like I can't screw this up. Like, I have to teach the best class in the history of jiu-jitsu if I want to land this gig as a Globetrotters instructor. Like, it'd be really embarrassing to get to do this once and they'd be like, it's gonna be a pass. Like, I didn't want that to happen. And so I
probably didn't even see your class.
I don't even know that you did, but in my mind, I was on this serious interview, and my first thing I saw Preet teaching, and Preet's so like no nonsense, like just wrong, like bad. In my head, I'm like, and then I saw a couple of the other instructors who like they had really good jiu-jitsu, and then I rolled with Chris Paynes, and he walked up to me and was just like, "You're the guy teaching the Dars seminar?" I'm like, "Yeah." "Can you Dars me?" I'm like, "What do you mean? Can you Dars me?" Like, I mean, like, demonstrate? No, like, we're gonna roll, and I want you to Dars me. And so I roll with Chris Paynes for 45 minutes, and I can't Dars him. I completely fail.
You lost all confidence.
I lost all confidence. I'm like, because the way that Preet was describing essentially all the setups that I had, not all the setups, but like the position I planned on teaching my Dars from as like entirely impractical and unrealistic during his class. And then I can't Dars the first person who asked me to roll. And I'm the guy teaching the Dars class. And so like I go back to my room and I'm just like...
To be fair, it's always kind of difficult to catch someone in anything if they know it's coming.
Oh, I do know, but in my head, like, I'm trying to prove myself.
Right, that's right. You're at a job interview, I forgot.
In my head, I'm at a job interview, and for all I know, like, I'm being tested by every these people that I meet. This is the neurotic stuff going on in my head right now. I know no one at camp. I don't know you. I know 0 people at camp. And the only people that I've met are the people from the speed dating thing in the beginning.
Right.
And mind you, the first person I talked to the speed dating thing, I don't remember his name offhand right now, but he warns me, he's like, he points at Preet. He's like, "You see that guy over there? See how he's laughing? He never used to be that way. He used to be very mean. Don't be like him." And I was like, holy crap. And so I was just like, apparently I can't be mean, I have to be nice, otherwise I'll be judged. Like this, he's like, "You're an instructor here, right?" And he gave me like ominous like warnings about how to do well, but it was all like very intense to me. I don't know if it was like his accent or just me being in my head. So like now I gotta be nice to people, and then Chris Paynes, I can't tap him out, and then Preet's like, all of this is in my head. I go home after the camp's over. Also, I didn't eat all day because every other camp I'd ever been to, there are breaks for food. But I went to everything, and there's no breaks for food.
It's such a first camper mistake.
Everything
I forgot to eat, and I did 12 camps today.
I did every single class except for Garris because I saw it was judo, and I was like, I gotta watch this. I can't take judo bumps all day if I'm gonna roll all day. So I watched Garris' class. And I went through everything, and then it's the end of the day, the last open mat ends, and I'm like, oh yeah, I was told I have a meal plan included in this. And I walked to the cantina, it's closed, right. So I've eaten nothing all day.
Oh God, this has been a nightmare for you right now.
But I was having a great time, and like, so, because as much as like I couldn't tap Chris, and I was mad about that, like a lot of the people I met, like my 2 first people I met were Sven and Chris. And they both have that same like lovable asshole vibe about them. Like they both kind of like prickly, but there's something charming about the way they're assholes. Like I love both of them. They're 2 of like my best friends I've made from Globetrotters now, both Chris Paynes and Sven Groten. But they both have that vibe. Like, cause Sven, he's like always wearing nogi. He's the luta libre guy, and I get to roll and do leg locks with him, and like I had a great roll with him. It's really fun. And then I can't tap Chris. So, like I go back to the hotel room. Like everyone's, "You want to go drinking?" He's like, "No, I gotta get ready." Actually, no. I did, because you maniacs have the bar crawl on the first night. And so
that's been the worst idea ever at the camp.
And so I go out, and everyone's like, "Do you want a drink?" I was like, "No, I gotta stay focused. I gotta prepare for my classes tomorrow." But even before that, but I was already hungover from the day before, because you remember on the camp group, there was the guy who's like, does somebody want to come move my washing machine?
No, I don't remember.
So there was a guy named Chris Riga. He's like a Muay Thai really like champion, but he's a white belt, and he lives in Mannheim, the city over from Heidelberg. And he posted in the camp group, does anybody have free time and want to help me move my old washing machine out and my new washing machine in? And he's like, I'll give you a place to stay for the night. Me and my wife will feed you. It'll be fun. And I'm like, I've been traveling at this point for a while, trying to travel as cheaply as possible. And I'm like, dude, I get to meet some people and I get a free meal. This sounds fabulous. So he picks me up and I go over there. This is the day before camp starts. And we have a great time. I helped move the washing machine, which was heavy as hell. Like for just two people, this is the heaviest, most like, I've moved American washing machines that are the cheaper ones before in the past. And they're not that bad. But he had this, like, I don't know if it was German or what company.
Eastern German.
He had this incredibly, like, this thing could probably, like, launch nuclear missiles. This thing was so advanced and dense. And it made no noise. It was, like, run high-end washing machine. And we carry it and both almost get hernias down. So afterwards, him and his wife cooked me this amazing meal. They put on, what was the name of the band? This, like, I never heard of them before. It's this, like, 80s mock rock band. I think it's Steel Panther is the name of them.
Don't know.
It's like a rock band, but they're like hair metal, but they're like, and it's madness, and we have a great meal. But then he's like, I have to show you German beer.
Of course.
And along with German beer, German whiskey, and then like, oh, why do they have rum and vodka? And I'm very used to just being a good guest, and so like I'm obliging, and so he's like, sure. I drink one of everything. So I drink, this is our regular beer, this is our strong beer, and then somehow we ended up drinking vodka and all kinds. And so I'm drunk, very, very drunk, and I end up falling asleep cuddling with a T-Rex stuffed animal in the middle of his living room, to which of course he took photos of me. So my first photos at camp are of me cuddling with a baby T-Rex dinosaur that has Muay Thai pads on it. The Muay Thai-nosaur is what he called it. Because he said that I had a girlfriend back home. He's like, you must miss your girlfriend. I'm going to give you a stuffed animal so you don't get lonely at night.
Wait, what kind of stuffed animal was
it? It was a regular baby size. There were no holes in the stuffed animal. This was a PG regular stuffed animal. It was not... And so I'm already hungover on day one as well to add to all of this. That was the whole reason for that long story. And but the cool deal on that was he agreed to do my laundry all week. And he had also like bought me a ticket to the pub crawl as a thank you for lifting stuff, and we hung around. He was a really, really nice guy. Chris is like a great, great guy. And his wife, who was his fiance back then, his new wife now, is also really, really cool. Val. They're awesome people. I hope I didn't screw her name up. We come back, and so now at the end of the day, I go to the pub crawl because I want to be social. Because that guy told me like, don't be cold. You have to be social, or you're gonna be a bad Globetrotters instructor. And so I'm meeting people, having a good time, but I'm trying not to drink. So I have one beer at the whole pub crawl, and then I go home and I'm obsessing about my class.
I'm
going through because I already had my class planned. I've been traveling for a while teaching, and so like I knew kind of what I wanted to teach. I had my two favorite classes. One was on Darces, one was on straight ankle locks. And I love these classes. And I already made friends with Sven, so now I have an uke for my classes. So I was really excited about that. And I'm just like, I'm thinking about like how, if I was an asshole, how could I pick apart my class? How could I say that my class sucked? And I just dissect my class. And I'm like, I think this class is bulletproof. I don't think there's anything anyone could say about this class. And if they do, fuck them. Like that's where I got it. And next day I teach my class, and like Preet's there sitting on the side of it, watching it with his complete stone-faced lack of emotion. And so like, and the entire time I have no idea what he's thinking, but in my head I'm just like, for whatever reason, it was immediately like going back to being like the nerdy kid in school who wants approval. I'm like, I want this motherfucker to like my class. Like for whatever reason I really wanted. And so I walked over right to the class, what do you think? And it wasn't exactly a compliment, but it wasn't an insult either. I think he said, I would have taught the class in the opposite order, but you are articulate and you expressed yourself well. And overall, it wasn't bad. I think that's like, it wasn't bad. And so for me, like this is the equivalent of like 5-star review. Just like he didn't sell me, it's wrong, and you suck. And so like, and from that point on, I relaxed, I breathed, and the rest of the camp was.
This was only Heidelberg 1 year ago, right?
This was Heidelberg 1 year ago, and this is all just in the first 36 hours.
So much going through your head.
I'm very laid back. Once I know that like it's okay to be, but when I think that I'm being like observed or tested, like I get really in my head. So this is all that, and then I hadn't even talked to you because I met you and you're doing a million things, and so I said hi Christian, and you're like, yeah, take this T-shirt, like the free T-shirt for camp, and didn't even have a conversation with me, didn't engage at all. So I'm just like, okay, thank you for having me here.
But you know, I was watching you all the time.
Of
right?
course, like you got spies. Well, especially because that camp, I learned about like the way you guys do promotions, which is like you just tell all the black belts a name and they all have to roll with them, and then you are doing that exact thing. And so it already like fed into my thing, like I knew it. There must be a secret instructor group without me in it for the spies to talk about me afterwards. So there's that.
Great.
That's all just in the first 36 hours. After that, like I realized like how laid back everything was, because I remember.
Well, I can tell the same story from my side.
I want to hear what you were thinking, which is probably nothing. Just like there's a guy here, and he maybe he's gonna teach a class.
So I just noticed that you were traveling a lot, and like I say, okay, it seems like you're doing some cool things, and I'll try to involve you somehow. I mean, wherever I can drop some karma anyway, I'll do it. So I said, let me send you some gear or something.
Yeah, I remember that. And I got the T-shirt.
And then you're traveling a lot, and then we were talking about, I was thinking about the sponsorship and like, what can I give people? And it's like, hey, why don't you show up at Heidelberg? Because, and just teach a class or something.
Notice how short that is.
And that's pretty much it.
Oh, God.
and like, that's pretty much it.
Well, because the reason
I remember I met you there. Like, oh yeah, you charge you guys that are traveling. That's cool.
Yeah, that was.
I'll try to catch you for a roll later or something.
That's exactly what it was. And I never got to roll with you because I remember you said that you had just gotten injured for the first time. That you've been you'd gone years without being injured, but you're rolling.
I just told someone that I did 36 camps with no injuries.
Yeah.
And then I immediately got injured.
Yeah.
And I was out for 4 camps.
Tempted fate.
Out for 4 camps.
And so, but you were still rolling with some people, but in my head, I was not going to roll with you. Because in my head, I'm like, I'm going to fucking hurt this guy. Like, that's what's going to happen. That's my luck. And then he's like, oh, this guy has no control. I didn't roll with you again for, like, I waited like 4 camps. I'm like, are you healthy? How you doing? Did you said anything about your knee? I'm not rolling with this guy. I'm waiting until he's tip-top.
No. I mean, there is absolutely no test. No one ever watched you. Like,
I know. I know at this point, but at that point, this is what it was.
But as you know now that, like, you know, the quality I really like in the instructors are, like in general, if I hadn't invited you, you would have showed up yourself, probably. At some point.
Eventually, yeah.
That's like how it is.
Yeah.
All the instructors who had the camps, if I don't invite them, they would still just show up.
Yeah.
Like that's really what I'm looking for. There's a lot of like celebrities and stuff, but I mean, if they don't really want to be there, then I don't give a shit.
Well, what I liked about it was that I looked at the schedule, and who was the guy, the famous guy who was there? Well, like, the very highly accomplished guy. The guy, I think he's Danish, but he lives in America now. What's his name?
Danish was in America. In Heidelberg?
In Heidelberg. Was he maybe there's a guy because he was opening a gym in Texas. I talked to him, and I remember
Alexander Trent.
Yes. Yeah. And I was just like, I've heard of this guy. And for me, he was the name on the schedule which I'd heard of the most. He's
also in episode 2 or 3 of this podcast.
Yeah. And so I talked to him. He was actually very nice, but he was only there for the end of camp.
Yeah.
And so I never really got to know him, but like he was very nice. But I was just like, it's kind of cool that like his classes and like my classes, they were just on the schedule the same way. Yeah. There was no like preferential treatment for the celebrity, which I thought was pretty cool.
I tried to, as I just did some talk with Stevie for the documentary we're filming for this year, and we talked a little bit about this, that I don't do like, the camps are not, I don't do seminars. It's not like people being here and then there are some instructors who are teaching it. That's not how I approach it. Like the camps are more like what I try to do is just get a bunch of friends together on a holiday, and then some of them happen to be teaching the classes because they did jiu-jitsu for longer than the others. You know, it's not like the students and the instructors, like two distinct groups. Like it doesn't work like that. That's not. At least I'm not interested in that. I don't give a shit about.
Yeah,
I wouldn't find that very.
That fit my personality really, really well, just because
I think that's what
been a fan of hierarchy. And all
that's probably what I saw when I saw you traveling is that like you were just everywhere, connecting with so many people, and like, oh, why don't you come here and just do the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, my entire MO when I was traveling in the beginning was just, if you live in a cool place and you'll give me a couch or a bed and feed me a little bit of food, let's do this.
Yeah.
Like that was it. Like my entire requirement was like, can I have a place to sleep that is sanitary?
Yeah.
Like not even necessarily a bed. Just will there be cockroaches? Like I think like that's my bar. Like will there be cockroaches crawling on me? If you don't have cockroaches crawling on me, we're good. That's where my bar is. That's my only deal breaker is like roaches on my chest at night. Anything better than that, and I'm a happy camper. Like oh, it's the floor. It's a clean floor. All right, we're good. Is it a couch? Is it a bed? Whatever it is. Like I've had really, like, because I've been times when I stayed in like a nice hotel. But then I'm like alone in the hotel and it's very lonely.
Yeah.
Versus like if I stay on someone's couch, like I'm part of their day.
Yeah, exactly.
And I get to see the place and I make a friend. Like for example, I slept on Chris Riga's couch that night and like I made a friend. I still talk to Chris.
Yeah.
Like him and his wife because they're really actually hilarious people.
Right.
And I did striking, he did Muay Thai. Like I made a friend just because I was cool with moving a dishwasher, a laundry machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In this podcast I talk a lot to people about the traveling and like
Yeah.
where they go and how they do
sure.
it. But let's actually stick a little bit with the camp instructor experience.
Oh yeah.
Like what else did you do? What was the other camp? I don't remember.
Oh, I did a bunch more camps.
Because I apparently don't notice you at the camps. And
apparently, well, I didn't do any. No, I didn't have like long. I think the first time I had a real conversation with you was in Austria, which was the next camp actually.
Okay, that was.
But that was because like I said, when I think my entire MO at the camps is like any opportunity given, I'll just say yes to it. So you said to someone to clean the mats, and I just said sure. Like any opportunity given, I'm going to jump on it because I ended up making really good friends with.
That was a test, though, Charles. I was testing your.
Oh, testing my humility. Like, was this guy willing to mount mats? I passed that one. I knew it. No, that was just because that was part of my second trip. So my first trip, I traveled with my girlfriend for the first half. And then I traveled alone for the second half. And then I came back to America and I had to decide, like, because I originally planned on having that one trip. Like, do I want to start school? Do I want to go back to having a office job? Where do I want to live? What do I want to do with my life? And I realized that, like, I really, like, everyone doesn't like being on the road so long. But, like, it didn't bother me. Like, I liked the fact that every few days was a new experience. Right. And I was like, let's lean into this and see how long I can just make this my life. And so, but I made myself a rule, like I wanted to only live off of jiu-jitsu. I didn't want to dip into my savings. I didn't want to be like, well, not even dipping into savings because I had used a bit of my savings on my first trip. And so already was a smaller savings. I didn't want to have a negative impact. I wanted to, is this a maintainable lifestyle to travel the world and do jiu-jitsu? And so in Austria, I was just like, any opportunity to do something because, like, frankly, I wanted the camp rash guard, but I didn't think it was a responsible purchase.
Right.
And so I was like, yeah, I'll clean the mats and I'll get a rash guard. Like this sounds like a way for me to logically be frugal and get this thing that I think is outside of my like trying to be as meager as I can budget out of it. That's the only reason I did it. But then. Other camps, they're like, what else can I think? So Austria camp was really special. Was it? But are we talking about the winter or the summer? I never went to summer. Oh, that's right. So it's how much you notice.
Oh, that's even just a few weeks ago, and I don't remember if you were there. Jeez. Like, I don't notice you. This is awkward.
I'm just a ghost.
This conversation is turning really awkward.
It's really awkward. Whereas I was not physically at that camp. I wasn't hiding from you for all 6 days. I wasn't physically in the country. I was in America when you were doing that.
I remember now. My God, too many. I just did 7 camps in 3 months. Like too many phases.
I'm impressed with your ability to still remember certain people. Unless either that or you have just an amazing poker face. Yeah, how are you?
What's up?
What's up, you?
Bro?
Yes.
You? What's up, man? No, Austria. So you were a bit more relaxed there, or what?
I was, because at this point, like, I knew people. Like, I had already, like, during my time between camps, I'd visited a bunch of the people from Heidelberg camp.
I think we talked about that, right? When you were traveling, I said, come to the camp and you definitely make some connections.
I did. It worked out really well. But I think also the reason why I was thinking it was so prestigious to teach at the camp is I had been to a previous camp and I'd offered to teach and they were like, no. It wasn't even like a question. It was like, no. It's just like, we have instructors. Thank you for your time. Just a very flat no. And it was like, Oh, and so for me, like you
Hot
letting me
pass.
be an instructor was a really big deal.
Right.
Like it was like I'm being given a privilege because clearly like there's a standard to this because I've asked before in another camp and they just said no to me. Not that I think there's anything to do like not that there was anything like it wasn't like personal. It was just like no, we chose our instructors like a year ago.
Right.
Like this camp is not that kind of a show where you can just like become an instructor 2 months out. Like that's not a thing
Right.
that we do here. Not to like because I don't want to like say anything bad about it. Because I actually loved that camp as well. Very different than Globetrotters, but I liked it as well. The Balaton camp from ZR team. I loved that camp as well. But very, very, like, very different experience. But in Austria, what I loved about it was now I knew people. And so, like, at this point, like, me and Preet actually, like, he's now kind of like a buddy. Like, as much as Preet, every time I see him, tells me, like, just so you know, we're not friends. Unless like this morning, actually, he flipped it. He'd been saying that for a while. This morning, he said, how do you do my very emotional friends? It's like, I was like, are you making a joke right now? Like, and so, but between him and then I had met a bunch of other people. And so I'm now, instead of just meeting friends, I'm also seeing people I've already known before, as well as a bunch of other people. That, and I got really good feedback from my class because in my head I'm like the junior person at Heidelberg. I didn't expect to get such a positive response, but I was getting a really positive response. People were asking me if they could have if there was a video taken of mine, or they were asking me if they could if they could learn more about it. So it made me feel good. It's like, okay, maybe I can hang because I took a lot of classes in Heidelberg. And I loved them. Like I had a whole notebook of stuff I learned in Heidelberg. That's part of why I made the little infographic, like how do I take the most out of camp? Because I learned a bunch, even off the mat. I learned stuff from Daniel Bertina, from Preet, from Chris, from Sven, from especially don't make his name evade me. I was face in my head. I'll remember in a second. But a lot of the instructors I learned so much from, and then for people to be giving me compliments, for me to be like, oh, I guess this level that I'm giving reverence to, maybe I'm somewhat near there or there. And so then I kind of came with that confidence into Austria, and I taught 2 classes there, and they went really well. And this is another story that I like telling because I had taken your Create Something class in Heidelberg, and it really changed my view, and it kind of because I'm very indecisive. I get to analysis paralysis. I look and examine every variable, and I can't make a decision. And it kind of helped me with just making life easier, because one of the things that you were saying is just don't worry about the money, just fix it, anxiety, and build karma points.
Right.
So the same way you're talking about letting me teach at camp was build karma points. I had a situation where people kept asking me for a more advanced leg lock class. I taught the same basic leg lock class, actually a modified version of the same basic leg lock class I taught in Heidelberg in Austria. People liked it, but dude, we want heel hooks, we want a more advanced class. And you had mentioned that instructors can give privates. And I was like, okay. But there was too many people, and I was like, you know what? I'll just make a class. And then you saw that I had made a paid class, and you sent me a message being like, Charles, I know that I said you could do privates, but we can't do a paid class because I don't want this idea of you already paid to come to camp, now you have to pay again if you want to get the real stuff. This idea of there being exclusive training. And for a second, there's that kind of selfish thought of dude, this isn't a paid gig for me. I'm trying to survive and this new journey in life and crap. What can I do? And I immediately thought all right, karma points. If I was a student in class and this situation happened to my instructor, what would he do that would make me be, if I was a student, that I would think he's a cool guy, or just that he's not an asshole, or he's not whatever.
Right.
And it was well, it's first off, do I enjoy jiu-jitsu? Of course I do. Do I enjoy teaching? Yes, of course I do. Would I do it for free? I've done it for free a long time. So I'm just going to teach the class for free. And I taught that I was the class isn't canceled, but you guys can't pay me for it. The class is free. And instead of getting the 8 people who wanted to go, I had 30 people in the middle of this tiny conference room teaching heel hooks and advanced leg lock entries. And some of them even coined a term, putting your knee into orbit. And so I learned a new way of teaching a technique, and that helped me out. And even after that, there were still 4 people who still wanted privates. So I still got to make a little bit of money on the privates. And I got to do the class. And after that, because I learned from the first camp that from Morsagao, who's Captain Patchmaster's got like 30 patches that he's like a bag of 1,000,000 different patches that like apparently I should make patches and bring them. And so I had patches, but I hadn't. I'm a horrible salesman. I never told anyone I had patches. People started asking me if I had patches, and people started buying my patches. And like I sold like I was still terrified when I even made the patches. I only made like 50 of each one. It was like usually people take like 200. I was like, I don't know if anyone's gonna want these stupid patches. Like I think they're cool, but like I don't even wear patches on my gi, so I'm a horrible hypocrite. I'm selling patches, but I don't even wear patches. But people wanted them, and that made me feel cool. And like the whole experience was like it was literally like this stuff that you taught in the Create Something class, like coming to fruition. It's like I honestly did the quote unquote right thing, or the what I thought was like the cool guy thing to do, with no expectation of making any money on it. Just like it's a great camp, have a good time, let's do it. And then I ended up having both. I got to be the cool guy, and I got a little bit of money, which allowed me to further my journey on my trip, which is all I needed from it. And it made me, because I was already paranoid about coming to a ski lodge, because skiing's incredibly expensive, and everything around a ski lodge to me just sounded like I was gonna make myself broke very quickly. Yeah. But it all worked out. And the trip after that, I ended up seeing so much of Germany, like, and just, I don't know, everyone that I've met through Globetrotters has just literally, like, that's the other quote that I took away from your Create Something was, treat everyone you meet like they could be your next best friend. Right. And it's been true. Like, I've made, like, Chris Wildgaard, he's going to hate me for mispronouncing his last name, he's from Denmark. I met him in Heidelberg, and I've been posting on Instagram about what I was doing. He's like, hey, I have time off. Like, do you want to go on a road trip with me? Sure. And so like after Austria, I went over and he just met me in Hamburg, where I was visiting Lilo, who's one of the instructors from Heidelberg, and we did like a road trip across Denmark and Germany together, and like it was like hanging out with someone I've known forever, and I literally had hung out with him like a couple hours in Heidelberg. Right. And we've been talking on Facebook, and then like we had an amazing time, and like I would never have gone on a road trip across Germany if I hadn't met him. But like I met him, and I just try my best to be cool, like just being pleasant, and you meet the coolest people. Right. And it worked out really, really well.
Yeah, it's very much about, I got that experience from traveling. Like I realized that the more of an open mind I kept towards everyone, and not just like the higher belts, with anyone you meet in any gym could potentially be your next best friends or give you an amazing experience or something. And I found that everywhere. I was like, shit, I really need to just like pursue this, and anyone I run into, you know, like really, what I do now is kind of when I meet someone, I kind of imagine myself doing like cool shit with them.
Like this is me and you, and you and me.
Yeah, we're like at a bar, or maybe we go bowling, or we're on a holiday in Greece together or something. You know, like that's how I imagine it. You know, you never know, and every single person, every little white belt hiding in the corner because fear of breaking rank, you know, they might be your next best friend. And the other thing about you say doing it for karma is like value comes in many shapes. You know, it's not always hard cash.
And the things I prefer, those things, like I would much rather like have an experience because everybody knows something cool, or like because for example, like I used to be a software developer. And like this thing that Chris Riga, he's a software developer. Or like some of the people that I've met here, like, and so I get to, because I still a little bit miss that world. I miss my technological side. I miss software development, and just even like having those chats about like Scrum and software development, and like hearing them be going the same little stresses that I had and neuroses that I had when I was in that field. It's like reconnecting with a piece of myself that like is really my only fear about just doing jiu-jitsu is like there's other pieces of myself that I don't want to atrophy. And so like I get to like and whenever you let someone talk about something they're passionate about, like they give you so much. And so like just asking someone about whether it be their profession or their hobby or their passion, and now I know like little bits about all kinds of stuff, and it's been really cool.
Someone's actually been listening to that workshop. That's pretty cool.
Oh no, I honestly, because I don't know, I guess I look at people and I try to learn from everybody. So for example, I learned a lot at Heidelberg camp from Mario Hudalesk. Not anything about the jiu-jitsu, but about how professional he is about everything. Yep. Like he did his, like I did a talk and I had slides. I didn't have any slides. I think I had pictures. I had a couple pictures on my laptop that I put up, and like I thought it was good. And everyone's like, "Do you have slides?" And I was like, "I don't have slides, bro." He's like, "What about this?" Like, okay, well, send me a message and I'll try and like put it together. And I had like a couple of Facebook conversations with people afterwards, but Mario taught his class. Instantly, there's a full PowerPoint presentation of how to drill better on the Facebook group, and he's like, "This is my Instagram. I will be posting a drilling video precisely once every 24 hours." He didn't say it that way, but that's how it felt. Like,
Yeah.
it felt.
The Instagram is Mario Drills.
Yeah,
by
Mario
the way.
Drills. It's really
I
good.
highly recommend it.
Every day without fail, like clockwork, he posts a new drill, and you'd think that after almost a year now, he'd be running out of stuff, but he's not. Because
I would be able to do
drills.
like for a week and then I'd run out of ideas.
Every day there's a new drill, and it's and you can see the progress. It's edited better each time. He used to like, whereas like I look at my Instagram, which started at like I think a little before his, and it's just like random pictures of my food or like me with my arm around somebody. Check out this dude that I met, or like look, it's me doing a handstand next to a monument. Like it's just, and then oh look, it's this great heel hook or a knee bar or a flying arm bar. Oh yeah, by the way, I like flowers. Like it's everywhere. And his is just so focused that and it shows with like how we've done. Like I've done pretty well on like the Instagram follower game, but like he's doing so because it's so focused. You know what you're gonna get. With mine, like you could just as easily get just a random picture of me with some graffiti with no context as you could get like a really good technique by a guy that I met. Like I put a really good technique up from this Sambo guy I met in Canada, and I loved it. It was so great. He was the nicest guy, and that's a great technique, and everyone loved it. It was like when I was in Serbia, I had pictures of me doing technique because the guy who runs BJJ, Jeremy Honey, he like kind of made me be better. He was just like, no, this is how you do it. These are the types of things you're supposed to be posting, stupid. And so for the week that I was with him, my Instagram was like really professional, and then I went right back to posting random crap.
Graffiti and food.
Yeah, just graffiti, food, and handstands, and then occasional jiu-jitsu. But I know that I gotta be more professional. But like
What was the next camp you did?
after Austria, I hung around Europe for a bit, and the next camp was I wasn't even supposed to. So I loved Austria so much. My plan was not to stick around and go to Estonia. My plan was to go to Asia because, like, dude, I want to see the world. I don't want to just be seeing Europe all the time. It's played out, blah, 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 adventure. But because I also wanted to see sumo in Japan. So I still haven't seen sumo in Japan. It's still like a goal of mine. But I didn't because I had so much fun in Austria. Like, I got to do the next one. I'll make it work. And so it was Tallinn. It was Estonia. And so that was great because once again, like each camp, I know a little bit more people. And so I'm seeing more people. So now I have the friends I made in Heidelberg and the friends I made in Austria, plus anybody that I've met along the way visiting Globetrotter gyms or visiting regular gyms, because I've had some people, for example, I taught in Israel twice. Once the first year, once the second year, and I absolutely loved it because I had a childhood friend who kind of vouched for me. And it turns out that they have some Globetrotters at the gym as well, and so it worked out really, really cool, and I got to live there for a whole week. And I taught, they're the most, shout out to Octopus BJJ in Tel Aviv, Shaul and Guidon, like, they did kind of like what you did. They just trusted that I wasn't a scumbag. And they let me take over their gym for a week. They let me teach every class in their gym for a week, so I got to feel what it was like to have my own gym. Because I've never had my own gym, and I loved it. And so...
Didn't you do the same in Serbia or something?
In Serbia...
This guy Guillaume, he went on a holiday.
Yeah. So...
he posted it in the Globetrotters group.
Yeah. He posted that he just wanted black belts. And so apparently I didn't actually have to teach so many classes. Like, he would have been cool if we teaching just a couple. But whenever someone offers me, I taught every day that I was there, and then I taught a seminar at the end. But I actually didn't have many people come to my seminar because I was like, I didn't want to ever repeat. So I taught so much that everyone was like mentally full that they didn't want to come. They're like, dude, I don't have mental space for any more of your jiu-jitsu. Like, less is more. So I think I learned that lesson. But yeah, I did the same thing. So Jeremy gave me that gig, and so I was able to do that as well because of the experience of Tel Aviv. But I actually had a friend from Tel Aviv, Inat, who came to Estonia, which is why we had like, it was like all these different countries, then one person from Israel, which was Inat. And, but also that was a cool thing in Israel because I managed to bring Chris Paynes because, like I said, I miss Chris Cranes and Preet, and I really like. I kind of, as much as like I talked about like the social part of it, like I loved their defensive system. One, because I could not submit Chris, and I was trying to submit him all week after that first time, and I couldn't get him, and so that bothered me. And then with Preet, just like how hard it was to attack him, and how lazy he was. Like that look of boredom he had on his face while I was trying to attack him was just like, I want this. I want to give people that look of boredom. And so I started obsessing over their defensive system. And so I taught little dregs of it because I thought it was really cool. And Israel was like, dude, you shouldn't listen to me. You should get Chris or Preet to come. But they had asked Preet, and he was booked up. He never had time. And so I asked Chris, and I'm like, dude, come over. These people are awesome. And Chris, he did, and I managed to get him to come over. And so I got to like have a Globetrotter person come over and like introduce them. We did super fights together, and like, so now when I saw Chris again in Estonia, it was like seeing a friend, because like me and Chris had like hung out a bit more. We're now friends. I'd actually invited to Florida earlier that year. Like, just I was actually still trying to live out that whole. So in the Create Something class, another thing that Christian talks about is the idea of building your creativity and treating it like a muscle, and like writing down 40, just even if they're bad ideas, just 40 ideas every day.
10 ideas a day.
Is it 10?
Don't do 40.
Oh, well, crap. I might have overdid it.
That's quite a lot.
Well, it was 10 ideas a day, and then you want to always take action on at least one of those ideas. And so I had been doing that for a while. And so when I went back to Florida, I had like Mexican luchador open mat at the park next to yoga class in the middle of town during a concert. Like, I made that happen. There was no financial repercussions. It was just me and my friends. Or it's a small. I also made it a small group of friends, that way it'd be logistically feasible, and I didn't have to like purchase too many luchador masks. Didn't want to make this, and so I bought 2, and then I had my friends get them, and we all had the most amazing time. And then I had my friend who's a photographer. I'm like, dude, you want to come take pictures of us in luchador masks doing jiu-jitsu? So we had professional photos of us doing this, and so I had been doing these little ideas, and so one of the ideas was I want to bring a Globetrotter somewhere, and so I brought Chris to Florida, and then the other idea was like, well, I want to keep like making all of these things commingle. And I had been obsessing, and also like selfishly, I wanted to get better at Preet's system, and I didn't have a chance to go see Preet personally. And also I had got along really well with Chris. And so, because when I went to Chris's school, what impressed me was there were blue belts, one in particular named Naki, who I could not submit. And I've been training for 14 years, and Naki had been training for 2. And I went as hard as I could trying to submit him, and I couldn't submit him. And he wasn't like doing anything magic. He's a strong guy, but he's not like a superhuman. And I was like, and his whole school across the board all had this defensive system, because he doesn't care if class is boring. Like Chris is like, no, you're learning this. It's important. And like, so his classes, they all know it. And so I went white belts, blue belts, everybody, the whole school unilaterally was difficult to submit. And there were blue belts training for 2 years that I couldn't submit. So I was like, I want to learn more of this, and I think I can share it with people. And so that led to me doing that. So in Estonia, I like am now going to get to train with Preet again, which was awesome. And on top of that, like I'm in my head thinking this is like the home base. I'm gonna meet like nothing but people who are amazing at this. But interestingly enough, it's kind of like you don't get all the love in your hometown. About like a piece of Preet students play grilled chicken and panda and all this stuff, and another piece just don't do it at all. Like it's like he's local, so like they just didn't believe him or they didn't adopt it, and so they're just like, nah, bro. They played good jiu-jitsu, but it wasn't that like clone of Preet. Whereas at Chris's gym,
Preet-jitsu.
Yeah, Preet-jitsu, like they in Chris's gym they all do it. Like there's 0 people in Chris's gym that aren't playing grilled chicken and panda and stuff. So I thought it was really interesting that though it's Preet's thing that he invented, at Chris's gym the adoption is so uniform. And I'd never been to a gym before where adoption of really anything was that uniform. Like every gym usually has their guy or their girl or their competitors, but I'd never seen like a singular technique or idea be so perfectly adopted in a gym. And so in Estonia, it was my first time kind of having a little bit of leisure time. Like I walked around, I hung out, I knew the other instructors.
Maybe we should mention that's an airplane. We're sitting right next to the airport.
Oh yeah, so we are.
Planes are taking off.
But we're not really next to the airport. Like the airport was like a 45-minute ride. It's just like...
No, this is a city airport.
Oh, there's an airport in Reykjavik?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
But there's only local flights.
Oh.
You can fly from here to like other parts of
So
Iceland.
if you were that lazy, you could have taken a flight from Keflavik here.
It's all propellers.
Yeah.
Sorry, what were you saying?
Oh, it was just about like the camp in Estonia. Because that was my next camp, which was entirely different. Like that's the other thing, like the camps aren't all the same. like because the camp in Heidelberg, almost everyone's there in the dorms. You don't really ever like leave. And same thing with Austria, almost everyone's in the dorms, so like everyone eats together because there's a meal plan, and so it's all very self-contained, and like it's kind of like there's things to do, but it's like a few things to do. Most people are doing the same thing because it's all self-contained. Estonia was entirely different because it was all in Priest's Gym, but everyone was at different hostels all over town. So instead of there being kind of like the thing that the camp is doing, there's like lots of different stuff going on. And even at Heidelberg there was, but that was more of like people staying in, people, oh sorry about that. No worries. People going out. But in Estonia, there were people going everywhere. So there's some people who were like going and partying at the hostel, and then there were people going to this bar or that bar. There were people staying in and playing board games or Cards Against Humanity. Like it was a whole different feeling that felt like I always say Globetrotters camps are like choose your own adventure. Right? Like other camps are kind of like we're all on this same ride together. We're all going to go to the class in the morning. We're going to eat lunch together, class in the evening. We're going to eat dinner together, and then maybe there's a class at night.
Everyone is in the same roller coaster.
We're all taking the same roller coaster ride. Whereas like the Globetrotters camps, they always feel like, because you physically, unless you're a crazy person, you can't go to every class. You just can't. I mean, you can, but you're going to...
You will try.
You will try, but you will probably fail. I think, didn't 2 guys do it once?
Oh yeah, yeah.
The big patch.
Actually, quite many people did it.
Really?
But yeah, I don't know how. But.
Oh, never mind. Maybe I just can't do it.
Okay.
I apologize for projecting my own inadequacies upon everyone else. But it leads to you deciding like you're gonna go to these classes. Maybe you'll watch some classes. Maybe you're gonna go because if you go to every class, you're gonna miss all the cool stuff. You're going to miss the extra stuff going on, whether it be like a bodybuilding competition or diving or the assassination game or the assassination game is everyone gets a person's name. Actually, I have to mention this about Estonia because I was mad at you in Estonia because I joined the assassination game even though I always lose. And you got me as the first person. And I hadn't even picked up my water gun yet. I was just defenseless. And you just like, hey, Charles, just so you know, you're dead. And I'm like, I never got to shoot anybody, and I got to do anything.
You're such a noob.
But the whole idea is you have to squirt someone with a water gun without them saying, hey, stop.
Calling it
out.
Before
they know that you're trying to squirt them with a water gun. You can talk to them. So, like, the most savage assassination I've ever seen, I'm going to skip forward to main camp, was in main camp.
That was the next camp, yeah?
It was the next camp after Estonia in the U.S. So I'm sitting down at a campfire. Maine had campfires. Over at this camp, and I'm talking to a few people, and this person comes and they sit down and they start joining the conversation. They talk. And the person sitting next to me talks to them, engages them, reels them into conversation. They have a conversation about life, but it's like a deep, not like a surface. It's like a deep conversation about like real personal stuff for about a half an hour, and then the person who was already there just says, by the way, you're dead. And shoots them with a water gun. I was like, that is the most like long con, like lulling someone into a false insecurity thing I've ever seen in my life. Just sat there and like for a second, like wow, they didn't know each other. This is like building trust, building a friendship. Like wow, maybe I want to visit you. Yeah, I'm gonna go visit you. Yeah. By the way, you're dead. Like, the depths.
All of that was fake.
All of that, by the way, I don't actually like you. I'm not interested in anything you had to say. It was all a ruse.
How was your... So at the US camp, now you're kind of already like a veteran instructor.
Yeah.
How did that feel?
Well,
and you were doing the breakdancing workshop and we did the breakdance battle at the final party.
So the funny thing about USA camp was I felt like Heidelberg all over again actually, because even though I've been doing all these camps, I'd done only camps in Europe. So I knew a bunch of people in Europe, and I knew no one. Not no one. I'd met like Aaron and a couple other people, but I knew almost no one from America. So like a lot of the Globetrotters in the main camp are from America and Canada. And all the instructors, I didn't know any of them. Like I knew Preet, and I knew Aaron, and I knew you, and like Katla and a couple other people, but like I didn't know any of them. So like it was kind of like back to Heidelberg again with also like, I wonder, I guess maybe it's just like my personality. Like I wonder how my jiu-jitsu stacked up against these guys. Like these guys gonna be like, Christian, like bringing amateurs in. Like I've always am constantly like, I know that I'm not the best jiu-jitsu competitor ever, but I'm obsessive about my teaching. I've always loved teaching. I've been teaching martial arts since I was 13. I taught karate, and so like I care about how good I am at teaching, way more than I care about how good I am at rolling. And so like, I always want feedback, but at the same time, like, it makes me want to polish myself and do my best, because there are some people at the camp who are from like famous teams, right? Like Jay Pages is from Kyotera, like some of these guys, and like are like, I think is Steve Austin an actor or something? Like I don't know if he was, but someone said something like that. Like I just noticed that all of his pictures on Facebook look so professional. Like he looks like he could be on the cast of Vikings or something. Like he's just so well groomed. And so I was just like, is this guy famous or something? He's got these beautiful photos. Like, and so I immediately just like, I need to make sure that I can rise to this bar. And so that's my immediate thought whenever I'm meeting a large number of new jiu-jitsu people. Like, okay, what is the standard? Who are the best people here? Okay, do I measure up to that bar? Have I worked hard enough? Has all of this work I put in jiu-jitsu? So like when I stopped having a day job, like my obsessive nature that like led me to be somewhat successful in my professional life, I took all of that obsession and just put it into jiu-jitsu. Like I want my jiu-jitsu to be as clear. I want literally anybody to be able to succeed in my class. And so, but I did feel comfortable because the class I was teaching was that same Leg Locks 101 class. And by this point, when I first came back to America, I got this great opportunity to actually make a DVD on BJJ Fanatics. So I know that gives me like a little tiny smidgen of clout, because like Bernardo Faria and Mike Zenga like met me and they don't think I suck at jiu-jitsu. Like for me, that's enough. Yeah. Like people who matter in the jiu-jitsu community like saw my jiu-jitsu and they don't think that I suck. I'm not saying they think I'm good, but they thought I was good enough to let me create a product on their website, which to me like was validation, because like I'm constantly trying to measure against my own bar, which is perfection, which you're never going to get. And so when I meet people who I have a lot of respect for, or have high accomplishments, I'm curious, like, okay, what is the chasm? Because there's definitely a difference in our accomplishments, because I haven't competed in any really prestigious tournaments. And so I know that like they have, and they've succeeded at that level. It's the same way I felt when I got to meet Max Carvalho at ZR Team Camp. He's a very accomplished competitor, and so it's like, when I got to roll with him, I was like, okay, how do I measure up against this like many-time European champion? Like, or like when I got to roll with Craig Jones or Robert Drysdale, like on my journey, like, okay, how do I measure up against these really elite guys? And like obviously like tapping happens. I'm gonna get tapped, but like, okay, do I feel like a baby? Do I feel like I'm in this match? But even more when I get to teach in front of people, and like when other black belts showed up for my class, that's the ultimate compliment. Like, because no one has to come to these classes. There's no obligation for you to show up to any class. And so for me, my standard is always like, who is the least talented person in this room, or least coordination, or like has the most physical problems? Is my teaching good enough that they can get it? And who is the most accomplished in this room? Do they look at my jiu-jitsu and think, okay, that's good jiu-jitsu, or that's probably useless? Not that like I put all of my faith in their opinion of me, but like I always want feedback. And I might be like, I disagree. I think that leg locks work. I don't think they're BS, or whatever. Where like, I think this technique is valid. You might think it's a strength move. We disagree. It's fine. But to get feedback about my teaching style and my class, it's always what I see. So anytime I meet new people that have any amount of accomplishments, or have said the words, I can't. Anytime a student says, I can't, it's like, okay, how good of a teacher am I? And so those two things. So like, even though I was a veteran, I felt like a noob because I didn't know any of the Americans at the camp. With the breakdancing thing, it went really well in the end, but I was panicking the whole time because you scheduled the breakdancing class the exact same time at your class. And it's your camp, and you taught a class that like everyone wanted to go to. And so I had 5 people show up for my breakdancing class. And you're like, Charles, we're gonna have a breakdance battle. And like, I had 5 people in my class. And like, I was trying my best, like, please come. And like, afterwards, everyone's like, when's your breakdance class? I'm like, it already happened. Like, I told you guys, it's on the schedule. Like, please come to my class. But like, that's how it happens. And like,
I don't think that many people showed up for my class. Actually. I think that was just in your head.
In my head, there were 5 people in my class. so that's even worse. It's not that your class is great. It's that they chose nothing over come to my class.
Yeah, okay, sorry. I just made it worse.
That's even worse. It's just like, do I do breakdancing, or do I sit down and take a nap, or do my laundry? Like, laundry beat my class. I'm sure there were more people doing laundry.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, and so like, that for me was like, but it's always the interesting thing I've realized about breakdancing is, whenever I teach people breakdancing, they love it. But whenever I tell people I want to teach them breakdancing, they have zero desire to come. Zero desire to come. My breakdance class worked out really well in Austria, actually because of the fact that I had those like kind of the good karma going already from kind of like offering to just like kind of help a lot of people. It was later in the week, and it was a smaller camp, and so everyone was all clustered together, kind of doing a similar thing. Whereas in America camp, even though it's all in the same spot, it's actually a really nice camp area. Some people were out on canoes. Like there were non-jiu-jitsu things people were doing, and some people were taking the other class. Like, and so it was a little more spread. The non-mat classes didn't get as much love as that one as they do in some other camps. And also, that a lot of people think, frankly, breakdancing is dangerous, which I think is hilarious. Whenever I try to get breakdancers to do jiu-jitsu, they're like, dude, you're trying to get me injured. Whenever I tell people that do jiu-jitsu to do breakdancing, they say the same thing. When both people already have the skills to do the other thing. Every breakdancer I've gotten to jiu-jitsu has been phenomenal and natural, to the point where like it comes so easily to them that their standards get ridiculously high. I had a friend who his very first class was doing well against blue belts and purple belts, but he was mad that in his second class he couldn't beat me. And I've been training for a decade at this point. I'm like, you're in your second class. It's like, because it was just all so intuitive for him, he thought that like, oh, this is like a game of basketball. Like, I'm gonna beat you in basketball after a couple of games. But back to that camp. But it was great though, because even though I only had 5 people, it made me able to have like an intimate class. Everyone got it. And I even like had 5 people, so I made a little mini routine. I taught them the routine. But then the end of the camp comes, and of course everything kind of goes wrong, so we can't get music because we're in like a dead zone of Maine in that auditorium. So we have to like run out and go to a field where we have Wi-Fi and download the songs because my computer didn't work.
But these are normal things that happen behind the scenes of every camp.
Yeah.
We just put out fires all the time. People maybe don't notice, but you noticed one of the fires.
Yeah, but for me, it was just one of those things because, but the thing about you is like, you care, because like I hadn't seen your neurotic side until May. Because I remember you asked me to hang up the schedules in every one of the cabins.
Oh yeah.
And you want to watch me do the first one to make sure that my schedule hanging abilities were up to your standards. And I still don't know if you're messing with that. So there's different ways of taping a rectangle on a wall. You can either put the tape parallel, or you can make X's on the corners. I had the audacity to put X's on the corners, and you gave me this look like I had just killed your dog. Like, who would ever think this was okay?
you just opened the door a little bit to backstage, and kind of like looked in a little bit, and you just saw, holy shit, this is insane what's going on behind the scenes.
And because when you first said it, like, actually, I don't really like the way you taped that. And I was like, are you serious? It's like, yes, I'm serious. And you took my tape off and you retaped it yourself to show me the proper taping procedures.
Yeah, you just had a little glimpse of how the inner workings of the games are. And so I made sure, and so then afterwards, and so like, as I do, right, so like anytime, because you're so jolly most of the time, anytime you're serious, I'm like, all right, I'll take this seriously. And so I think 2 hours have passed. I went down every cabin, and you're like, and I had made sure every single one was perpendicular and in a clear to see space, because clearly, like, you have standards for the like, not crooked. And you came back like, you're still doing it? Like, yeah, like I'm still doing this. I'm putting, because I also was still like have my notes from the first camp. So every cabin I went to, I thought it'd be rude to just come in, put a schedule up and leave. And so I had a conversation with everyone in every cabin, and it was great. I got to know people. It's actually like, it's one of those things where like my own neurosis like benefits me sometimes. Like my procrastination benefits me sometimes, and my neurosis benefits me because like I made friends with like half the camp, or at least had a conversation with half the camp, and like they all came to my leg lock class because they had a face to a name, and I was like, yeah, come to my leg lock class. And so my leg lock class was packed when I had it. Mainly, I don't know, just everyone to do leg locks, but also because I got to know people and like meet people. Somebody else had a one wheel there. I got to bond over that. Like I got to meet all these cool people. So now when it was time for me to teach, I kind of knew like a bunch of people. I even got my uke out of it. One of the cool guys from, I think,
I'm so sorry, dude. I'm forgetting your name off the top of the head, but you're in the military. I think you live in Virginia. You're cool as heck. We had the most amazing roles. And you were my uke, and you were a fabulous uke, and I love you. But I'm forgetting your first name right now. So I will go on my Facebook and search for you and tag you in this whenever Chris releases it. But I'm so sorry that I forgot your name. And he was an amazing uke for my class because I actually asked Preet to be uke, and he just said no. He's like, I'm not doing that today. That's just, which I love about Preet. Preet will, like, if Preet ever says anything to you that's positive, he means it. Because he'll never do something for you he doesn't want to do. And so, like, that's part of why he's becoming one of my favorite. Anytime that I think someone's, like, blowing smoke up my ass, I'll go to Preet and ask him the same question because I know I'm getting the truth. And so I got a great uke for it, and the class went amazingly. And it's still, like, and one of the people actually recorded it for me, and like I was actually editing it together because it's one of my favorite classes. Like I had been refining this class over the past 2 years, and like I think it's like the final form of the class, and I'm like really proud of it now. Like you have your spin to win class that you've taught a bunch of times that you're like refining.
No, I haven't.
You haven't?
I did it once like 6 years ago, and then.
Oh, you brought it back.
I did it again.
Because I see it's still winning on the polls again. So I figured.
It's just do my class, the knee spin.
Actually, but. Of your classes, to go back to Heidelberg, the class I liked was, I don't know what the whole class was called. This was your hair over butt class.
Right.
What was that name of the class? What's the class called?
I give it a new name every time.
All right, so, but it was interesting because I actually had a conversation about that class with one of the, I think it's either a blue belt or a white belt, one of the guys from camp on the ride, and we were talking about that class because it's what I love. I love concepts. The same way that Pre had the concept of closing the space between the armpit and the knee, your concept was just so simple. If you're ever lost, is your hair over your butt?
Yeah.
And so it's so accessible, right? And so I had liked that concept, and so I was already was a conceptual based kind of teacher, but like I love those little things that I can take with me, because now like I see jiu-jitsu like there's two ways of teaching it. I see myself as like the mad scientist, like Dr. Frankenstein, and I have to do two things. I can be making a monster who's incredibly dangerous, but has no idea why they're powerful, right? Like Frankenstein's monster can't make other monsters. He's very powerful and dangerous. Like if you build this like a jiu-jitsu brute who doesn't understand why jiu-jitsu works, but he can like regurgitate your game, right? Like a clone of you, but he doesn't know why. Or you can like train other scientists. So instead of training someone how to just be me, I teach them how I think and then watch them make their own jiu-jitsu. And so because of this, like I have students, like my student back in Gainesville, Ralph Jackson, like I had a problem preparing for a match I had coming up, and I didn't know how to solve it. And he taught me something I taught him, but he had digested it differently and like made my leg lock defense better. And so like that's what I love about that. And I think this like concepts are power, right? Like not to like overblow it, but it reminds me of like back when like the Protestant Reformation happened. But trust me, this is gonna make sense in a second. This is gonna make sense because like you used to have like you had priests that the only people who could speak Latin and read. And so they had to just trust whatever the priest said was what God was saying. But then, like, once they translated the Bible into local languages, like, that Bible religion was the power of the day. And so, like, now the people had power. They had been able to have their own interpretations of what religion is, and it caused all the fracturing and the schism and all that stuff. But it was a powerful moment. And I think that, like, giving people the why behind jiu-jitsu and the concepts is giving them that power. If I just teach you, this is how you guard pass, this is the right way, this is the only way, you'll be really good at that guard pass. But if you have to troubleshoot something, you're kind of helpless. And so like these concepts for me are that's like what I'm constantly chasing at all the camps, because I want to make my jiu-jitsu better as well as teaching. I don't know why I got into that concept speech, but there we are. I forgot what I was talking about.
Anyway, so let's move on.
Yeah.
So now we're almost at the full circle of the year for you, of your camp career.
Yeah.
Starting out as a nervous.
Yeah, I'm not as nervous now. Like I was like, this is the first camp here in Estonia, not just in Iceland, where I'm doing non-camp things.
Right. Yeah. Now we're back in. Now you're kind of back in Europe, or at least like culturally back in Northern Europe. And how is this one for you?
I'm incredibly comfortable. Like I said, like this is the first camp where, for example, you had the day tour. On Tuesday, and I have to miss an entire day of camp to do on that day tour, and I signed up for it. Or even like the fact that, like, much to your chagrin, I signed up for snorkeling on Friday, which is
You had like 6 months to prepare this.
But I didn't make any plans. But like I said, I like saying yes to people. That's really the reason this happened. It happened because I'm horrible at saying no, and so like during the instructors chat, first off, this only happened because I said yes to when Vara said, "Does anybody want to teach a third class?" And I said yes really late, like 2 days after she asked for it. She's like, "Charles, it's too late for a third class." I'm like, okay. But then while I was at the BJ Focus Camp in Leuven, like focusing on learning leg locks from Aaron Millam and John Kallenstein, like nerding out over there, she posted, "Oh yeah, Charles, you have a third class now." So now I have, but I hadn't seen it yet. So then someone invited me to, and the session was around my breakdancing class. Someone invited me to go snorkeling. And I was like, I can't. I'm teaching a class at 3 p.m. on Friday. But I didn't look at the schedule of the breakdancing class to see that I was also teaching breakdancing at noon. So they moved snorkeling up to 8 a.m. so that I could come. So I'm like, oh, they've been so nice to me. They're helping me out. I need to go snorkeling. And then I realized, oh crap, what time did we get back? And so at the very earliest, there's a chance that I actually get back at noon. But we're probably getting back at 12:30, which means like if I do breakdancing at that time, now it's already a class that I always have like low attendance at. Now the few people that show up are probably gonna leave, and you look unprofessional, and it's really bad. And like, because from my point of view, what I'm thinking is like I keep trying to teach this class at every camp, with the exception of Austria. I always get like 5 people, I can figure out who it's gonna be, and I'll just have them do it later. It'll be fine. And like you explained, I printed out 200 schedules, Charles. Do you really want me to like
at
change
least this didn't happen at your first camp in Harriott.
I would have failed the test. I would never have been invited back.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And so. But just the fact that like I feel so comfortable, I've gotten to roll with Haldor, which was amazing. I've gotten to roll with all these great people, but also like I'm finally like doing the cultural stuff at the time. Because like I went to Heidelberg, I never saw the castle, never went. I was like, I'm gonna miss jiu-jitsu. I didn't go to the diving competition. Like I didn't do a lot of the cool stuff about Globetrotters because I was so focused on the mat portion of Globetrotters. And so this is the first camp where I'm really getting into doing the stuff that's not jiu-jitsu, and I'm letting myself miss people's classes, which I never wanted to do before. I didn't want to miss a whole day's classes. Yeah. And so it's been really relaxed. I've had a lot of fun. It's been very different as well because Reykjavik is it's the capital, but still not that big of a town.
It's really small.
It's a very small town.
We can literally see the entire town.
We can see everything.
We can see the whole from sea to sea.
Yeah, it's crazy. And what messed me up the first couple days is because it was like being on the moon because it was just gray. Like that just gray the first few days. Messed me up a little bit because I made the mistake. I had a layover in Dublin on the way here. And I had a choice. I could be a responsible person. I could sit in the airport and take out my laptop and do adult things like my American taxes that are very much like after my extension almost due again, if not overdue now. I could be a grown-up. I could be a big boy and do responsible things and then sleep in the airport. Or I could make a financial decision and go and get a hostel and sleep there and be rested for the camp. Or I could do what I did, which is go out to Temple Bar and wander around all night and get into trouble and sleep not at all. So I had horrible jet lag when I got here. Not even jet lag, just lack of sleep. And I did that, but the camp's been great. I've absolutely loved this camp. Like I feel kind of at home because I know a lot of the instructors. I didn't take that many classes this camp, but the classes I took were so perfect because right after my class yesterday was Craig's class, and he taught the Skywalker Pass. And if there's ever been a move that I've seen that was like made for me, it was that move. You're literally almost doing capoeira onto someone's chest. Right. Like, it's glorious, and I absolutely love that pass. So I haven't taken many classes, but all the classes I've taken have just through the luck of the draw, like, been just made for me. And then today, I hung out a bit, got to see, like I said, like I'm running into friends from Austria and from other places, and so now like I see why at that first camp when I was so intense, where like the veteran instructors, like they were doing nothing that I was doing. They didn't care. Like for them, it was almost like this is a family reunion. Yeah. And like now it's how it feels. Now it's getting that vibe for me now because I know more people. I actually value catching up with these people I haven't seen for a month, 2 months, or a year more than getting this technique or like I still am obsessive, so I still care about the quality of my classes. So I'm mildly neurotic because at this camp, I taught one class I taught before, and teaching 2 classes I'd never taught before. And so like, even one class that once again to bring Preet back into it, like I named it just to like poke the bear. I named it Shamelessly Stealing from Preet Nicholson. And so I'm teaching attacking from one of his signature positions just to like truly see, like, because this is the test. Like, it's one thing just to teach your stuff, but like I'm going to teach like his stuff and my interpretation of his stuff just to see if, because I really do think that for my jiu-jitsu right now, because it's given me, because I like playing wild, I like attacking all the time, and to have like an impervious defense is like what I want to complement to allow me to have that freedom to open up an attack. I don't have the patience that him and Chris have. Him and Chris can sit down and just sit there and just laugh inside or laugh out loud if you're Chris about the fact that you can't submit them. Like they just sit there and they're not bored for like 20, 30 minutes. Just lay there like lumps and be happy about it. I can't do that, man. I can't do it. I have to move. And so like I'm trying to find a way to make their defensive system aggressive. And so if I succeed, I'll do that tomorrow in the Panda class. If I fail, I'll get the glorious no. But I was a little afraid.
Should have called it like the Floridian Panda.
Oh, that's a better name. Oh, there's a much better name. Well, if I get this to a more refined point.
We can't change the schedule now, Charles.
I can't. I'm going to go and X it all out. But yeah, I should do that in the future. Next time I teach it, there'll be the Floridian Panda. That's a brilliant idea.
Right, we're actually running out of space on my phone.
Well,
You're
beautiful.
talking too much.
I'm a
but anyway,
guy.
just to wrap it up. So in 10 days, we're back in Heidelberg, actually.
Yes, sir.
That's like a full cycle for you.
Yeah, it'll be it won't be a full year because Heidelberg's a little earlier, but yeah, it'll be my full cycle because I'm not doing any more camps.
We don't measure time in years, we measure time in camps.
Oh, exactly. So we'll be Heidelberg to Heidelberg.
I am 49 camps old.
This will be, I think Heidelberg, this is my 5th, so Heidelberg will be my 6th camp.
6 camps in a year, that's pretty good. That's a pretty hardcore introduction to being a camp teacher, right?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I genuinely love it, man. Like, because for me, it's a great way to make myself better because I don't want to keep teaching the same class. I have one class I'm finding, but just like seeing what people pick is fun. I don't know, the whole thing's been great. I've absolutely loved it. I always thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for letting me mess with your neuroses and change one class. And I'm still, the thing is like, a piece of me is like, I don't want to do it. So a piece of me is gonna like harass the driver to try and actually get back here at noon and teach 2 breakdancing classes instead of 1, just to like be like, see, Christian, it was all fine in the end.
All right, man. That was a good talk. I'll wrap the podcast up when I get home.
Beautiful.
And I will leave some links to how to get in touch with you or invite you to, if they have a couch without cockroaches.
Yeah. If you have a couch or if you want me to teach a seminar in the U.S. or any place that I'm legally allowed to collect monies, yeah, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. I want to either just have adventures or teach jiu-jitsu or both. That's my life.
And I'll see you in 10 days in Heidelberg for your final job interview.
Oh, thank you.
It was a 1-year test.
Then you'll get my evaluation.
I'm handing you over a printed evaluation.
I get the grade of like, you made it, C-. You didn't fail.
Remember when you didn't drink at that pub?
You were not properly engaged.
I also realized I've been laying in mud with a white shirt
we were all laying
for an hour.
And I'm butchering this tank up that I enjoy.
So that's it. That was the first of 3 interviews of the podcast series. I'm gonna prepare the next one shortly and then release it soon. Probably not in 6 months, but it might take a little bit since even recording these intros are kind of difficult for me to find time to it. I don't have many moments in my life where I just sit in silence like this and can record something on my computer. But anyway, I am off to my big camp checklist for the next few camps in 2 months, and I think I'm going to just take some time to, I don't know, read a book, do something I haven't had time for the last 3-4 months. And if you want to know more about our upcoming events, you can always go to our website, BJJ Globetrotters.com, where you can also find the mat surfing network if you were looking for somewhere to go, someone to meet up with for training or a place to stay, and all the other interesting things we got going on our website. If you got any questions for me or need help with anything, I'm always available. Just shoot me an email at Christian at bjjglobetrotters.com. I reply to all emails personally, so I'll be happy to hear from you. That's it. I hope you enjoyed the interview, and I'll be back with the next episode shortly, and have a nice day.